Just saying we should have turned around and continued our search in the meeting house. Hello, I'm Siamecat. I have stumbled my way into Canada in search of my Oreo hoard.
Luckily, my Oreo radar is off the charts in this spot. You agree,
No.
right?
After the success of Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, it only made sense for this series to be a trilogy. No one talks about this game. Well, this revolution of a console had just released, and by the time people were revisiting the SNES, this looked and played just like another Donkey Kong Country. So that explains that, but it doesn't mean I like it. Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie's Double Trouble released on the SNES in 1996. This is my favorite in the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. Have I contracted being wrong? DK and Diddy leave a note saying they're exploring the Northern Hemisphere, and that they'll be back soon. After a few days pass without them returning, Dixie sets out to find them herself. This is the first game in the series where the plot gradually unfolds throughout the course of the adventure. You don't know everything about it from the moment you start the first level. I like this about DKC3, it definitely does a good job setting it apart from the others, which is important 3 games in. About halfway through, Dixie meets an evil robot named Chaos, so the new mission is to infiltrate Castle Chaos. Once you beat Chaos, it's revealed that K. Rool is behind it all.
Consider me shocked.
After defeating him, DK and Diddy show up, explaining how Chaos was powered by their brain energy. And that concludes this story and a half. Well, not yet, but that's for later. I've put this magnificence off long enough. It's time to talk about the Northern Hemisphere. Something you should know about me? I love mountainous Alpine regions, so for a game to have its setting be that the whole way through, I'm gonna play it and you're gonna hear about it. The Northern Hemisphere is just an exciting and memorable place to be. There are boardwalks, lakes, forests, snow resorts, cliffs. It's all very grounded in reality, unlike DKC2, and a lot more like DKC1. A giant beehive, it's on Crocodile Isle, it makes sense. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just different. I especially like the vertical treetop levels and the waterfall levels. This game takes the setting and runs with it all the way. There are also factories like DKC1 too. If there's one aspect of this game I think is disappointing, it's the music. Most of the soundtrack leans too far into the ambient side, to the point where very few songs have a recognizable melody. Rockface Rumble and the World Map theme are the only songs that really stand out to me. Now, I've never played the GBA version, but it does have an entirely different soundtrack, and I like it a lot more. Sometimes the tone is completely different, but more often than not, it works. It's all a matter of preference anyway. Another thing that sets this game apart from the others is the world map. Instead of being just like any other world map, this one really is a fully explorable world. You have free movement, you can do some worlds out of order, you can find secrets. It's such an interesting part of the game that platformers with linear levels just don't do. Typically, a world map is just a fancy stage select. Very few games can come close to matching this kind of effort behind such an inconsequential part of a platformer. You can find items to bring to Funky that he can use to upgrade your vehicle, opening up all sorts of exploration possibilities, like climbing up waterfalls. My favorite recurring element of the SNES. Another thing you can do while exploring the Northern Hemisphere is to talk to the Brothers Bear. This leads to shopping, fetch quests, extra challenges, etc. I'm a big fan of stuff like this. It absolutely doesn't need to be here, but it adds so much personality. What all of this exploration and bear bartering leads to is fighting banana birds, which are only important if you're trying to get 103%, but it's still neat. The secrets you'll be finding to get banana birds are these caves where you memorize a random button combination.
Simon says touch your nose. Simon says talk about Kitty Kong.
I'm out.
Dixie is the main character of this game, but because there has to be another, Kitty Kong,
I can't do it. This is too much for me!
his design is freaky, first of all. Also, what would the lamest possible character for the third Donkey Kong Country be? A baby, apparently, because that's what we got. As for his abilities, he can skip across water. This is used 3 times in the whole game. Dixie can throw him to break through cracked floors. This is used once in the whole game. Dixie can also ride on him while he's rolling. This is used 0 times in the whole game. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought of this, and for good reason. It just makes so much sense. Kitty should have just been Funky. It's not like his already existing role has to be changed or removed at all for this to work. Oh yeah, Wrinkly is still the save point. Swanky runs a carnival game for you to earn extra lives, and Cranky is your opponent in that game. Thought I'd mention that. Squitter, Squawks, and Engard are the only returning animal buddies. While there is also Quawks, who just slowly descended in that one DKC2 level, but now he can pick up barrels. Ellie is the new one this time, and she's probably my favorite animal buddy in the series. Kind of. Ellie can store and shoot water and pull barrels closer, which is the basis for a few really cool levels and a boss fight. Unfortunately, the first level built around Ellie is not quite as good. She's afraid of rats, so you have to carry endlessly respawning barrels across the level to take them out from outside the light. It's a shame this had to be the first Ellie level. The level design has evolved a lot throughout the series, so it makes sense that the rest of the series has led up to this, in a way. Every level introduces a creative new gimmick, even more so than DKC2. This is the game where levels blend together the least. They tend to be more memorable because each one is so different from the last. From what I understand, this game's reliance on gimmicks is actually a point of contention, and I could not disagree more. It's like the Wii. People didn't and still don't like motion controls, but if they would just look past that for once and realize how they can change the experience for the better, they would come to appreciate a good gimmick when they see one. And with that said, here are some great levels. Owls firing on you from the background, one where you're being fired at from the foreground, climbing the trees to escape a giant saw, low gravity, reversed controls, barrels that move with you, a fish you have to keep feeding before it attacks you, switching between animal buddies, dodging a lightning storm, conveyor ropes. Any level that features the rope climbing TNT barrels is a fun time. In the foreground firing one of the bonus rooms has you controlling the cursor instead, so you can shoot down all the enemies yourself. Did I mention this game has creative ideas? There are a few levels where that classic Donkey Kong Country trial and error comes into play, but it's not enough to be a huge problem. In fact, I was expecting to go on my regularly scheduled rant about them by now, but again, every game is going to have a few bad levels. The rant may still be coming at some point though.
Anyway, it's time for the 4th installment of complaining about Mario Kart controls. See? They're terrible. It's a platformer.
The bonus room system from DKC2 returns. You find bonus rooms, complete a challenge, and spend the coins you get to unlock levels in the secret final world, in this case Krematoa. There's also a new type of bonus room challenge, collecting 15 green bananas. They appear in random locations, usually accompanied by obnoxiously placed obstacles. They're alright. DK coins have been kinda downgraded. Before they were like any other collectible. Now you have to defeat an enemy using it as a shield in every level by hitting it from behind with a steel barrel. When I first saw that this is what I would have to do to get the DK coins, I thought there was going to be a clever puzzle in each level. And a few of them are. It's a shame the rest of the levels just put the barrel next to the coin and have you be done with it. What's the point of this? Anyway, as for Krematoa, welcome to episode 3 of the top 3 worst levels in the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. Number 1, Stampede Sprint. Remember the incredibly long and tedious level where Ellie is afraid of rats? Me neither, but in this level, she gets so scared that she can't stop running. Now this would actually be a really fun level if you could, say it with me folks, react to anything in time. Not only that, if you failed the bonus at the end, you have to do it all over again. You basically have to build up nearly a minute of muscle memory for this garbage. I've done this so many times I can complete this level in my sleep now. Then there's Rocket Rush. Top 4 worst levels in the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. The bosses are similar to DKC2, but a little more creative this time. Both fights with K. Rool are extremely difficult, but not too bad if you use Kitty. I was stubborn and tried to beat them with Dixie instead. Don't try this at home. Yeah, after saving DK and Diddy, you find K. Rool hiding in his submarine, and once you find all 15 banana birds, the Queen Banana Bird agrees to make sure K. Rool stops bothering the Kongs once and for all, and what was all that? Well, collecting all the DK coins allows Funky to make the gyrocopter, so you can get the last few banana birds, and talk to the Queen Banana Bird. So the Queen Banana Bird implies the Banana Horde has ancient power, which would explain why all the Kremlins wanted it for themselves. Does this make any sense? We'll put a pin on it. It'll come up again some other time. After that, the Queen Banana Bird drops an egg over K. Rool, and that's the Donkey Kong Country trilogy.
Did I get the bad ending?
Yeah, people don't like this ending, saying it's anticlimactic. I think no matter what this ending actually was, it would still be seen as a disappointment after DKC2. There really was no other option than to do something different. You can't just do DKC2 again, and at least I think that's why people don't like it. For what it is, it works fine. The drum beat from the first game's main theme even plays quietly in the background, since everything's come full circle. No ending in this series is ever going to be as good as the second game's, which is all the more reason why this one isn't bad, it's just different. Donkey Kong Country 3 does a lot of things differently compared to its predecessors, but those things tend to be what I like most about it. This is a worthy conclusion to the first phase of the series, but before we talk about the next game in the series, there was a very different kind of game that released in between.
I've been to Canada, a deserted island, my front yard, and for what? Didn't even find my Oreos. Is what I would say if I wasn't stubborn to a fault. I didn't find them, but I did sure make some interesting financial decisions.